So welcome to a new video. Today we want to work again on my solar setup, and here in front of me I do have my ESP32 that I do use to connect my MPPT charge controller using ESP Home with Home Assistant. What I'm trying to do here is actually to desolder the cables from the ESP and bridge in between a ADAM 1201, which should give me some sort of a disconnection from a clear wire connection between the MPPT charge controller and the ESP, so to have this separated on a physical level. And yeah, I was using this. Apparently later on in the video it turns out that the ADAM that I do have is broken, so I needed to order myself a second one. But nevertheless, I'm trying to work today a little bit on a couple different things for the solar setup that I do have, and we'll also dive into the section of adding a fan to it so that I can literally have the lid closed of the whole solar setup that I do have and keep it all day long closed. And yeah, so that's what we're trying to dive into today. And I'd say let's move over to the part where we no longer need to solder stuff here, right? So now that we do have that, I need to connect this, which goes under here. Here's a connector, and then I need to use the 5V from the buck converter there and feed it into the ESP32. I will receive another buck converter to run this 24/7 off of the battery, but for now I need to just plug it in down there. Let's see if you can see that. No, it's not focusing. But down there is the connector, and yeah, I also received this 12V PWM signal, which I will use for this fan. And by the way, speaking about the fan, I need to do an opening here and there. I also 3D printed something, and yeah, let me quickly plug this in and then we'll dive into the section of creating holes for the fans. And now, as you do see, the ESP is running, and let me quickly show you how this looks on my phone so that you can get an understanding of why I use this ESP. And this ADAM 1202 that I do use here is for isolation of the signal going to the ESP32. By the way, this ADAM is kind of broken. One of the capacitors on there was broken, but nevertheless it should work because I don't use the TX of this charge controller. I only use the RX to feed the ESP and then go to my cloud unit to actually read what's going on there. But yeah, and here I also do have a second cable for a second Bitaxe, which I'll try to put there, but I need to figure out if with these long cables everything fits in here. We'll figure that out. So while I was 3D printing the shroud for my fan for an intake or an outtake, leave me a comment on what you think about my new intro. I would highly appreciate that. So now the idea is to use these shrouds. These are 3D ASA printed shrouds for a fan, and I do have this 80mm fan here. Originally I was thinking about using a 100mm fan, but unfortunately I don't have one. As you do see, it is way smaller than that. Maybe I need to check if I do have a 120mm fan, and I'll quickly do so. But other than that, I just use a piece of paper and marked it where I need to screw holes, and then I'll put it probably on here on the top to have like an outlet, and I'm trying to push out the hot air. And the intake, I'm not sure. I printed myself a second one, maybe here on the side, but I'm not sure about that. Probably way down here. To have better airflow going through the housing and then outside through this vent here, so I'll probably put it here. But yeah, I'm not sure if I use a second fan or not, or a second shroud, or if I should just use the holes that I already do have on the downside, because they're really big. And yeah, I brought myself a screwdriver, electric screwdriver here, and a couple of other tools. So yeah, let me quickly figure out if I do have another fan that could potentially fit this or not, and then we'll start drilling a couple of holes and making this one to be outside with a nice venting option, right? So now we are back outside. I've cleaned up everything a little bit. I moved the battery a little bit and I put back the PV cables in there. And the fan there is up and running and air is coming out. So now my idea is to keep this here and let this run for a while to see how the temperature on the inside will actually be and how the 1 Bitaxe that I currently do have in there, the Nerd X, will perform. And depending on that, I will add a second fan for an intake and yeah, a second hole. It's not beautiful, it's working, but yeah, I need to figure out how the temperature will be and what it will look like. And yeah, I think that's a good update for today's video. And as I said, I'll obviously use this in my new home and put this somewhere where it looks nice, somewhere outside. And that's the reason why I printed it with ASA, a lovely thing for 3D printing. And other than that, yeah, it's ugly inside, but it's okay.